Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of We Believe to You, a paranormal podcast. I'm Michelle,
And I'm Eric.
and today's guest, oh my god, guys, super duper special guest. I always say this, that I'm so excited about today's guest and like what they have to say, but holy shit, just wait. Today's guest is Eric Connor.
I'm the guest, guys.
Woo!
Round of applause
Okay.
for me. Bow, bow.
Yes. No, we've talked about wanting to do this episode for a while now. And we want to sprinkle our own paranormal experiences here and there in a few episodes. We have quite a few, and we haven't given them all to you guys. And we've kind of hinted, or I guess not we, but Eric has kind of hinted at this episode eventually happening, and today's the day. It's going to happen. Well, partially, because this could also be like a 2 or 3-parter, but we're going to do a portion of it today for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to share these stories because it's not like random stories throughout my life or things that have happened to me throughout my life. It's like specifically like work related stories. And so a little background, I'm a nurse. I used to work at a nursing home. So you can imagine the amount of death,
Yeah.
has happened in a place like this. I've told a couple stories, but not in super crazy detail. For the same reason that, I wanted to share more of these stories here with you guys. And yeah, so this was a lot later. Well, no, that's not true. I became a nurse pretty early on in my life. I've been a nurse for about 13 years now, I think. I'm 33. I became a nurse when I was like I had just turned 20. So I was kind of upset that I didn't become a nurse at 19 and start working at 19. But yeah, so a lot of my stuff, I had already started experiencing some things. Like I had already had my EVP session stuff that I've talked about before, where stuff started happening here at the house, and I had already stopped all that. And yeah, so I started working in a nursing home after I graduated and took my state board exams and stuff like that.
I mean, but you were going to be in the medical field since high school. Like you knew that this was your
My path
too.
Yeah. Actually, when I was a kid, like obviously the first thing like I told mom was like, I want to be a policeman, and then I want to be a firefighter, and then eventually
all the tropes.
Yeah, I want to be a doctor. Like I want to specifically a pediatrician, because ever since I was a kid, I liked kids. Like like I was an older like 10 or 11 or whatever, and then I like taking care of younger kids. Like
I mean, yeah, you're always super nurturing. Like I'm sure any sibling would love to have had a loving brother like you were, and I was an asshole to you every time and like would hit you and be like, get off of me, like stop being affectionate. Like you are so loving and so kind, and like you've always been that, and like usually that's what you would want from an older sibling, and I was like, leave me alone.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
Well, it's true. But
yeah, I mean, I've always liked taking care of other people. Like I remember even like one time when I was in kinder, I think mom was sick. Like she had a cold or something, and she had to, it was to the point where she had to stay home from work. And I ended up missing school because she was going to take me, but I told her, no, mom, I'm going to, stay home and take care of you. How much I actually did take care of her, I have no idea. But
you gave her cuddles and love. That's enough.
Maybe. I honestly don't. I just remember staying home. But I remember telling her that I wanted to take care of her, and stuff like that. So, and so then I remember
destined to be a healer.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yes.
Because like I said, I wanted to be a pediatrician. And then it was actually in high school where I think our junior year, we start to go like do clinical rotations in the in the medical program there at the school, at the high school. So you start looking at different areas in the medical field. Like you go to different areas of the hospital and stuff like that. And that's kind of where I decided, you know what, I don't think I want to be a doctor, because I felt like doctors don't spend as much time with the patients. And what I
Yeah.
wanted was like, well, it was in like my senior year where you choose a area. I chose the emergency room, and that's where I really saw that the ones that are really in there with the patients are the nurses. You know,
Shout out to all nurses because y'all are the real heroes.
they,
You.
um, but yeah, so that's when I really decided, you know what, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to become a nurse. I want to work with people. I want to work with patients. Uh, and at that point, like, I had decided, oh, I want to work in the ER. So graduated high school, and like literally as soon as I got into to college, like that was my main focus. Like I would literally take 5 or 6 classes a semester, and like the advisors were usually like, try not to take that many classes. And I'm like, dude, I just want to be done with this. Like, I'm
Yeah.
trying to get out there and start, you know,
Making
working.
money.
Yeah. I'm not trying to be here forever, you know. So I think I graduated in 2006. Uh I went to college 2006, 2007, and then I graduated, I think it was December of 2008 from nursing school. And then I started working into 2009, I believe, something like that. So yeah, I couldn't, well, I like, with the license that I have, I'm an LVN, which again, guys, if you're going to be a nurse, don't start working right away. Or if you are going to start working, go back to school immediately. Do not put it off. Do not say, oh, I'm just going to, you know, get some money and go. No, just go back to school, because I made that mistake. I never got my RN. It's never too late technically, but I would have to do stuff over again, and it's a pain in the ass, and it's money. And so uh
I don't know if you're gonna get to this, but what made you choose a nursing home?
so what made me, yeah, I was literally about to go into
Okay.
that. But yeah, so what made me choose a nursing home was the pay. Like, I could, at the time, I think they were still taking LVNs at the hospital, but they were paying, like way less than a nursing home would pay. Like the starting pay was significantly higher in a nursing home. So uh yeah, so they like, actually, mom was the one that found the job for me, and she was like, hey, so at the nursing home where your grandfather was at and where Chelita's at currently, they have an opening for night shift. And she was like, do you mind working nights? And I was like, well, I like partying all night, so
Oh
I
my
think
god.
I'm pretty sure that I'd be good at staying up during the night. So started started working nights. I went in for the interview, and they told me, you know, this is a position, blah blah blah. This is how much you're going to be making. Uh, and yeah, like, I mean, I, I don't think I really cared what, like, if I was doing pediatrics, geriatrics. I eventually wanted to go to the ER, but again, because the pay was just so crap for LVNs, like I was like, yeah, I'm not going to the hospital.
Hmm.
Um, but in hindsight, I guess because of the overtime, like you actually make more money. But anyway, so I started working. There at the nursing home, and I was warned from the beginning that, you know, you hear
Weird
stuff at
shit
night.
happens.
Yeah. I actually started training during the day just so that I could get the kind of the idea of how it works during the day. And then they switched me over to start practicing with the nights, and I did like about a week of orientation with a night shift, and then they threw me out there on my own, and I was like, okay, well, this is nerve-wracking. And I'm afraid I'm going to fuck up because, like, again, I'm a 20-year-old kid, you know, excuse
Taking
me.
care of a human,
Yeah,
like
of
human's life is in your hands. Multiple.
multiple humans. Like, the thing
Yeah.
is, at night, in a nursing home, for the most part, like, you have 2 nurses, maybe. At least when I worked there, we had 2 nurses for about 80 patients. So each one of us gets at least 40 patients, depending on our census. If it's lower, obviously we have less. If there's more, we had more. I think our capacity was like 100 and some, so we could have up to 50 something patients per nurse. So yeah, it
That's
was,
insane.
yeah, it was nerve wracking. So guys, if you have a loved one at a nursing home, understand that at night it tends to be a difficult. I'm not saying there aren't shit nurses or shit CNAs out there who just don't give a shit. There are, but uh, a lot of times we are trying our best to, you know, be there for your loved ones, but it's just sometimes it is very difficult to attend because everybody sometimes at night they're awake, wanting to use a restroom or want to be changed, and they all put the call light on. And like I said,
There's only one of you,
yeah, there's
or
only one
two,
of
or
us,
like
and
a
then
couple.
we do have our CNAs, but even then with us, we had like a CNA per hall. So
Mm.
they're like working together. Sometimes if the person can be changed on their own, they'd split up, but if not, then yeah, that's how it is, and it's just, it sucks. But again, I don't
It
think
is
that's
what it
all
is.
companies, but at least where I work, that's how it was. So yeah. um so I'm kind of waiting for your question.
Yeah, yay! Okay, good. Because I'm glad you stopped. Because I was gonna ask, and I was hoping that I could like cut in, but I didn't want to interrupt you.
Hmm.
What was your very first experience that you can remember
So
in
my
a nursing home?
Okay, so my very first paranormal experience in the nursing home was, again, I was working, right? I had just started. I was still going to school because I did have the intention of going back for my RN. So I literally, guys, and I'm telling you, like, I literally just had to go back to school and take my RN courses, get into the program and take my courses. I literally had everything to do it. And I just made money, was still living at home, was like, I got a lot of money, and I never went back. And then that money goes away really fast.
Learn from his mistakes, ladies and
Learn, yes,
gentlemen.
please do learn from my mistakes, guys. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yes, I do.
Um, but yeah, so I was going back to school. I would like literally go to school during the, like I would get out of work like at 6:30, sleep for about 2 hours, go to class at 8 at 9 in the morning, sometimes 11, maybe come back, sleep for another couple hours, and then go into my night
Jesus
shift.
Christ.
Um, and so I remember this one night I was just really, really tired, and they were renovating an entire hall. So in this hall, we had one gentleman, and I had already been working for I think a few months. So like I was burning the candle at both ends. I was getting really burnt out, and I remember my coworker, she saw that I was just really tired, and she's like, "Look, take your lunch break, and go and sleep in this room. Like, you know, it's empty. Just lay in the bed. You know, close the curtain.
Mm.
So just in case anybody walks in or anything like that, uh, and you know, take a nap, like a 30-minute whatever the break was, right?" And I was like, "All right." And she was like, I was like, "Are you sure you're gonna be fine? Like, you don't?" And she's like, "Yes, just go. Like, you look really exhausted." And I was like, "Okay, thanks, I appreciate it." So I go into this room, right? And it was next door to the room of that one gentleman in the hall that's being renovated. And I laid in the bed, and I remember laying in the bed and facing the window. The window itself didn't have curtains. So like you
You
could
can
see
see out.
out, yeah, and there was like it like looked out into like this little smoking area, like courtyard type of thing and stuff like that, right? And I just remember laying there and just getting this feeling that there was somebody standing outside the window.
No.
Yeah, like yeah, like it felt like somebody was standing outside the window staring at me. So I was like, dude, this is like, man, I don't know, I feel real uncomfortable. So then I ended up turning over, and I had my back to the window, and I could still feel like somebody was watching me.
Because he wasn't outside the window, he was inside the room.
Or was he?
Oh, you didn't. Oh, wait. Okay. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
So so I end up, my half hour is up or whatever, and I end up you know, coming back in from break and start doing, you know, working again. And then the CNAs, I think, uh, were doing their rounds, and I want to say maybe half an hour had passed, and then all of a sudden we get a call over the radio saying that somebody was had
Coding.
coded. Yeah.
Mm.
And we all run to the room, and it was the man that was next door to where I was sleeping, and he had passed away. We weren't really sure how long he had passed away. It had been since he had passed away, but I don't know. I felt like when I was in the like, I immediately like felt like when I was in the room, like he was either like on the verge of going, and he was like trying to get my
In and
attention
out,
somehow.
maybe.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he was the one that was standing there like watching me. But yeah, so and that kind of becomes a theme for me throughout my career there at the nursing home.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've definitely heard my again kind of if you've listened to all our episodes, then you've heard me talk about my friend that I don't think I've ever actually named. When I had my experience with grandma in my dream, I'm like, but how is that possible to have like a visitation dream from someone who isn't dead yet?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing. And she was like, when people are comatose or like close to death, like they tend to go in and out of their bodies. So sometimes they're here and sometimes they're not. So I wonder if it was that happening, like you said, that he was like kind of in and out of his body. And yeah, while you were napping, he kind of came out and then was watching you or trying to get your attention, maybe, and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And then left his body completely permanently. And that's when you guys got that code.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was really weird because I ended up, I hadn't shared what I had felt before, before, like, so when the man passed away, then I told them, guys, this, like, when I was there, like, I felt this. I was like, what if, like, he was dying while I was in the room, and I didn't even know, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, how could I know because he was in the other
Yeah.
room, right? But
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where, like, in hindsight, you're like, holy shit, dude, like, I don't think I could have stopped it or anything, but
Yeah.
yeah, so
I
it
I
was
was
just
gonna
weird.
say, like, I would hope that you didn't feel like guilt, like that. Oh, somehow, like you could have prevented that, or did
No,
you?
no, no,
Okay,
no. And especially because it wasn't my patient. Like, it sounds messed up, but um,
it's not on you.
yeah, it's not on me. Yeah, it
Yeah,
wasn't on me. So like, I knew like I didn't do anything, and the other nurse didn't do anything. To be fair, like he was just like it was just
it
it
happens, right? I
happened.
mean,
Yeah,
it's a nursing home.
hmm yeah, it happens. And which is something that for me, I think I've mentioned this before. Like, at one point in my career, I was called the angel of death because I just had patients passing away with me. Like, again, not because of things that I did, just that, they would be in those situations where, like, hey, they're kind of close to death, and they would just so happen to pass away with me on my shift. Or sometimes when I would wear my black scrubs, or sometimes it wasn't even like my patient. Like, if I showed up in my scrubs, my black scrubs, somebody could have passed away for the other nurse. But
I just had all these like thoughts kind of like rush into my head, like as you and I already know all this. Like some of these stories I've heard before, like you've shared with me, so I know some of them. But I I had these thoughts kind of coming in my head, like what if it happened while you were there because it needed to be around somebody who could handle it. Does that make sense?
well,
Like,
like, handle it how? Like,
I
emotionally?
mean, I
Or
know it sucks. Like, I don't think you could. Well, I mean, I guess there's people that can be like, oh, this person's dead, and like are like numb to it. I guess, but
mhm.
someone who can like that sucks. I feel for you. I feel for the family. I really don't know how to explain it. Like literally all the words that popped into my head was like it was somebody who could handle it.
Mhm.
Or
I
you were
actually
somebody who could handle it.
I think it's, for me, I feel like it was the opposite because I had a real problem. I've had a real problem. Well, I had a real problem with death before, where when Mamita passed away, mom's mom, our
Yeah.
maternal grandmother, when she passed away, I remember I could go up to the coffin and I could see her, stare at her, no problem, didn't have, but then I remember, but I couldn't touch her. Like that, just touching her made me feel weird. Like I felt weird trying like touching her. And then I
Mhm.
remember I was standing there and I had already gone up multiple times to just stand there and stare at her for some weird reason. Um, but I would just stand there and just watch her. And then I remember Theo Chuy came up and he was like, give her a kiss. I'm like, no, I'm okay. And he was like, give her a kiss on the forehead. And I'm like, no, no, like, I was 7 and I was like, I don't want to. And he goes, she's like, he basically said, she's dead. She's not going to do anything to you. And I was like, so like, I felt obligated, and like, we were always raised to, do what we're, our
Yeah,
elders
told
told.
or yeah.
Yeah. So he told me to kiss her. So I remember kissing her forehead, and like, again, I'll never forget the sensation on my lips, the way her skin felt, like how cold
Jesus
it
Christ.
was. Like I feel
Yeah.
like it traumatized me.
Yeah.
And so like after that, like I felt like I had an issue with death because I couldn't go to when Tio Pancho, which is mom's uncle, when
Yeah.
he passed away. I couldn't go to that funeral. When Petra passed away, I don't remember if we went to the funeral, but
I don't think
and
so.
me and Josh were kind of close to Tio Pancho, but Josh went. I couldn't go to the funeral. I cried, but I stayed at school while you guys went. um, when Papa passed away, I was in nursing school, and I remember I couldn't go. Like, it was in the nursing home where I ended up working, and I couldn't go into the room where he was. Like, literally the whole family was in there with his
Yeah.
body, basically saying their last goodbyes, and I couldn't be in there. And then I remember Theo Jacinto came out. Theo J, he comes out and he's like, uh, he tells me, that mom needed me, to be in there with her and stuff. Like, he didn't tell me, he goes, you don't have to look, you don't have to, just be there for your mom. And so like, I remember walking in there, I literally had my face to the door, like literally almost like a kid that was punished. Like,
Yeah.
and I was holding mom's hand, but I could not look at him. When they had his funeral, I stayed in the like where the coffee is and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Couldn't go in until like the very last bit where they were already going to close the casket. Then I was able to go in and see him from afar, and then they closed the casket, and that was it. And then they buried him, and I started working as a nurse. And uh I feel like all these deaths that ended up happening to me were kind of like God, or the
The universe preparing you for it.
yeah, just trying to get me used to death. And I feel like that's part of the reason why as well. I mean, grandma always said something different, but that's part of the reason. That's part of what I felt, was that it was just kind of like, you need to get used to this.
Well, I definitely want to hear what Grandma had to say about it, but I I, I experienced something, I guess, really with both Grandma's deaths, but well, I just real quick because you're talking about Mamita, or our
Hmm.
maternal grandmother. Like that situation that happened, and I remember. I mean, I was like what 4, I think.
Yeah.
She passed away in 95.
Hmm.
I was like 4. I literally thought they like cut her body in half because it was like
Uh.
obviously like a half casket kind of thing. So I'm like, she's cut in half. I don't want to see her. I remember not even being able to look at her,
Hmm.
but I can't even imagine kissing her.
Yeah.
And I did have a hard time with grandma too, like touching her too. I finally did, like at the end, like just kind of caressed her hair, but like I had this weird, like it sucked seeing her in this casket, right? Because it was like this like like it was finalized, right? Like it's
Hmm.
in my face that it's done. But I had this weird like feeling like, or like a disconnect, like that's not her,
Yeah.
right? Was it just
Yes.
okay?
No.
I'm like, that's not her. Like, that's just like meat and bones. Like, that's not whatever she is, her soul, I guess. I mean, that's what I want to believe. That's what I want to say. Her soul, I guess, is around us, like all around us, in our hearts, in our minds, and like in the flowers that bloom, in the sun in the sky. Like, it's everywhere, but it's not, that's not her. Like,
Hmm.
and I had never felt that before. I mean, obviously, like, grandpa's passing, and every all the deaths that you just mentioned, but with for whatever reason, like with grandma, I'm like, this is not, this is her body, but this isn't her, this isn't her essence here. her essence is somewhere else that I can't get to, and I miss that, and that's what I want. That's what I miss, is
Hmm.
whatever this essence, this soul, like whatever that is, but not this
Yeah.
person in this casket.
I remember being there, like, and I remember not wanting to touch her either.
Yeah,
Just because I remember the sensation with Mamita and how cold she was, and I touched grandma and she was freezing, and
yeah.
I just remember being like, and then she just like the way she was made up and stuff like that. Not that she didn't look beautiful, but she didn't
That
look
wasn't her.
real. Yeah,
That wasn't her.
it just it didn't. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Is it wasn't her. It didn't seem like her. Like I know that was grandma because like I mean obviously that's grandma,
That's her body. Yeah.
but it like I just had all these memories of her and all these pictures of her in my head, and like I couldn't. So like it was kind of like like the kind like afterwards like I was able to like the word in Spanish is simular, like to
Assimilate?
yeah, that she had passed, like
Mhm.
it was like it made it real, like okay, she's gone.
Yeah. You don't even know how happy it makes me to hear you kinda, like, validate, like, what I was feeling too, because I felt like I was wrong for feeling that way, I guess, or
Hmm.
feeling like
I mean, don't get me wrong, I still bawled my eyes out
oh,
because
no,
you
no,
know.
no. I mean, yes, same. Like once I actually got up the nerve to like go over and be with her and stuff like that, but it was still like this weird disconnect that like this isn't her. She's somewhere else and like I can't feel her the way that I did like when she was inside her body kind of thing. Hopefully at some point I will. Sure. All of y'all are fucking tired of hearing us talk about our grandma. Tell me more about your stories.
So I mean, after like so much death, like when Chelita passed away, like that was a little bit easier. I mean, well, I was devastated. I was crying, but like at her funeral, like I could go up and see her, and you know, it wasn't like at that point, it wasn't a big deal anymore. When Tio Nicho passed away, again, it's not that I didn't care about him. I mean, obviously, I was upset, but it wasn't like it was no big deal. It wasn't like you know, um, it wasn't like at the beginning, like where I had to
Yeah.
be outside, I couldn't see it. So I feel like a lot of these things had to happen in my career for me to be able to, and like you said earlier, it unfortunately, but fortunately for the person, because you become basically numb to it. Like people pass away and you have to compartmentalize because you're gonna lose your mind. Like I literally, like at the very beginning when people would pass away, like I would go home and like again I work night shift, so for me the morning was, it was my time off, so I would literally get home, have a beer, and just like when people would pass away and just be like, what the fuck, dude, like am I doing something wrong? Why does this happen to me? Why am I so like, why do they have to die with me all the time? Like it was just hard. But you start to kind of like callous, so like get that callous and become not cold, because you still have to be like be there for the family because they need you to be like strong because you know they
Yeah.
just lost somebody. But yeah, so I guess like another experience that I remember having was it was Christmas Eve, I believe. And it was like close to midnight. I was doing my rounds. And I was in with, actually I was in Chalita's room and her roommate. I was with her roommate and I was doing some
Um, real quick, guys, if you don't know who, if we haven't explained who Chalita is, or if you haven't listened to previous episodes, she's our aunt from our mother's side.
so I was with her roommate, giving, you know, doing some stuff that I needed to do with that patient, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see a man in a suit, tall man, slender, walk by in a suit, and I was like, okay, well, at the time I really didn't think anything of it because I was like, okay, well, it's midnight and it's like Christmas Eve going into Christmas Day. And down here in the Mexican culture, or I don't know if it's just in the Hispanic culture in general, but we have something called posadas, or basically Christmas parties. So people, like companies, will throw Christmas parties and stuff like that. I guess that's everywhere, right? But so it's not uncommon for, I guess, people to come in late, and we didn't really have like visiting hours. Like you could come in at whatever time you wanted. There was no problems, you know. So I saw a man walk by, and he was wearing a suit. So I was like, oh, he must have been like at a party or something. So then I finished quickly with the patient and I step out. So the where her room was, it was towards the end of the hall. So there was only like maybe 4 more rooms that could be down that way. So I remember walking out of the room and I start walking towards the end of the hall looking for this man. And I was like, where the fuck is he? Like, so I'm like looking into these last 4 rooms and I don't see anybody. So then I go back to the, what's it called, the nurses station, which is in, it's like a rotunda, it's like in the middle, and it's a big old circle, and out of those, like, you could literally see down all 4 halls. And I go to the nurse and I was like, hey, did you let somebody in, a guy in a suit, or did you see somebody? And they're like, no, there's nobody's come in tonight. And I was like, I could have sworn I just saw somebody pass by. And they're like, no, we haven't let anybody in. And I was like, okay, well, that's weird. And then so I was like, okay. So then I go down the other hall and I'm doing my rounds down that hall. I walk into the last room, and both these patients are in their beds. They can't get up. Like one of them, I think, needs assistance to get up, but if the person even tried to get up by themselves, they like, it would be super slow. So it's not like they can get up super fast and like do anything,
Walk
right?
away.
Yeah. So I leave something in that room, and I'm walking out, and as I'm walking out and I turn off the light, I just feel somebody pull on my scrub top, like if they were like just tugging on the bottom, like kind of trying to get my attention. So like I turn around really fast, and I'm like, what the fuck? And both patients are still laying in their beds. And I'm like, what was that? Like, why? Like, I was freaking out. And so, like, I fast walk with my cart back to the rotunda, and I was like,
fuck this, fuck this, fuck
yeah,
this.
basically.
Or like me in yesterday or last week's episode. No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, basically that. And I go back to the rotunda, and I told my coworker, I was like, dude, like this just happened to me. Like, what the fuck? Like it and like it freaked me out because it's like,
Yeah.
I'd never had anybody tug on my uniform before. And I mean, mind you, this isn't the first time that it's happened to people, because I've had CNAs, like, I remember this one CNA just, and this was after this happened to me, but she came running out of a room. Her face was like, I could see the terror in her face. And she was like, are you messing with me? And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, did you just pull on my scrub top? And I was like, dude, I've been sitting here the entire time. Like, I just saw you running out of the room. So I was wondering, like, what the hell, why you're freaking out? And she's like, I was sitting there with this patient, and I was doing something, changing them or something like that. And somebody pulled on my scrub top, and I was like, literally nobody's been down this hall. You're by yourself in that hall. And she's like, well, I don't know what it was. Like, so she freaked out. So like, it wasn't the first time that that's happened.
And just so that like people can get like a visual of what this place looks like, would you say it's kind of like the nurses station is in the center of this building, and then you like in front is the entrance and back is the cafeteria kind of
Yeah.
thing, and then you
Mm-hmm.
have like 2 or 4,
4
I guess,
halls.
4 halls, like 2 on left, 2 left, 2 right,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a spider web almost essentially
Yeah.
situation. So you're in the center of this, and she's like somewhere down the hall, one of these, and she's like, "Did you mess with me?"
Yeah.
And like these, I mean, these halls go down. I don't
Like
know,
20
like
rooms.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no way that you could yank on her fucking scrub top, run all the way back to the center of this building, like
Hmm.
sit down behind the desk and be like, "No, that wasn't me."
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
she was in one of the closer rooms, like towards the front, but even then, like it's like there's no way that I could have gone in there, yanked on her scrub top, and then like
Ran all the way back,
sprinted
jumped over
back.
the fucking thing. Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's not okay.
yeah, no, definitely not. Um, but yeah, so like that was one of like and this was the same night as I saw that guy. So when I came back, like
Oh,
yeah, so when I came back down from that hall after having my scrub top pulled, I remember setting up the cart and I was getting some stuff prepared for later on, and then I just couldn't shake the feeling that somebody was watching me from that hallway where I saw that man like walk down that hall.
yeah.
Like at the end of the hall, I just felt like somebody was watching me from there.
Hmm.
But again, like how many people have passed away here? How many people
Yeah.
just, so yeah, like a lot of things happen. Like I remember, I think I've talked about this before, but there was one where like I was talking to, I think it was a speech therapist, and she goes, what did she say? She said, "Oh no, we were talking. There was a patient there, and she was treating the patient, but we were talking about another patient, and all of a sudden, we're literally the only three people in the dining room, and all of a sudden, we just the majority of the chairs there are wooden, so like all of a sudden, you just hear, like when
Like
you
in one room.
slide, yeah, like when
Yeah.
you slide a chair across the floor, and I was just like." So, like
Uh,
we okay so we're talking, right, and we hear
yeah.
it but nobody acknowledges that it happened. We just kept our conversation, right, and then so we stopped, like we finished the conversation about the patient. I'm like, you did hear that, right? And she's like, yeah. I was like, okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy.
And you're like the cops in The Conjuring 2, or the Enfield, and you just like ran the fuck out and like, oh, sorry, nothing we can do
Yeah,
here.
and the thing is, like, it was like 6:37 in the morning. Like it was like there was a lot of people like in like
Building?
the building, and they
Yeah.
were moving and stuff, but we were the only three people in the dining room. We were the
Mm,
only three people in the dining room. So like there's like, and there was nobody in front of us, and the sound came from in front, not from in back. So it's not
yeah.
like we heard the sound, carry from behind, and it came from in front of us, and there was nobody in front of us. So there was another experience that I had, and a lot of these are kind of out of order because like they're just it's
As
just
they're
so
popping
much.
into your brain.
Yeah. Okay, so this was like one of the things that and I didn't understand I kind of understood what I was seeing, but at the same time I didn't understand what I was saying. But so we had a patient, or I had a patient, he was in my hall, and we were basically just waiting for him to pass. Like,
Jesus Christ.
yeah,
Like I
because
get it, but
yeah,
Jesus Christ.
he was already like, I don't remember, he was already on hospice, like he was already deteriorating, his vital signs were, kind of like going and stuff like that. And like I was literally like, since it was my shift, I was like, okay, well, he's gonna go with me because that's just how this works. And I remember just getting this like I need to go check on him. And so I'm walking down the hall, the same hall that I saw this man, this tall suited, man in a suit. I'm walking down this hall, and it's like, I don't even know what time it was. But it was like in the middle of the night. It wasn't like super early in the shift, and it wasn't like it wasn't going to be change of shift yet. So
Hmm.
it was anywhere between like 1 and 4 in the morning.
Okay.
So I'm walking down the hall, right? And all of a sudden, like there's just this super bright, like golden light that comes through. So like this like back door window. And granted, you can see cars
Yeah,
passing
yeah, yeah.
by.
But golden light, like
Yeah.
bright.
But like like the lights that you see from the cars, like they're not that bright. Like you
Yeah.
can tell they're cars. Like this thing, like I literally had to turn away. It was so bright. And like it kind of like like flared is the best way I can describe it for the podcast. Like, because I'm using my hands, like it did this, like it didn't just
It
like
flared.
flash. It didn't flash. It kind of just like gradually like
Whoosh.
got
It's like
super like bright. Yeah.
yeah.
and like I had to turn away because of how bright this light was, and it was like this golden, like sparkly type of light. I don't know, that's the best way I can describe it.
I can see it in my mind's eye.
Yeah. And so like I turn around and then I look back and it's like it's not there anymore. And then like I turned around and I called to my no, I didn't call. I went to the room to check on the man because I was like, this, like I just had the feeling, and he was still alive, but not for long. Like he literally ended up passing away like an hour after or so. But like I looked at him, and like he just looked really weak and stuff like that. And I was with him for a little bit, and then I went back to the the hallway, and I went to the nurse's station, and I told my coworker, I was like, "Hey, did you see that light?" And she was like, "What light?" And I said, "It was a really really bright light that just like it just shone in through the window." And she goes, "Was it a car?" And I was like, "No, like this, like if this was a car, they would have literally had to been parked right outside
The door,
the door and
and it's
flash the
not
light in."
possible.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Just yeah.
Yeah, because
For listeners, like again, and the only reason that I know the layout of this is again because my aunt and my grandfather were at this nursing home, so I'm like, there's no fucking way that somebody could be parked right outside that door. Like
Mhm.
it's not possible.
Yeah, and yeah, and that would be the only way that the a car light would have been that bright, because the street is a pretty decent distance away to where yeah, again you can see the lights, but it's not like I experienced.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but even the way you described it, like car lights are just that, like a flat like lights.
Hmm.
The way you described it as like sparkly, like golden. That's not what car lights are. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's different.
yeah, and I remember when grandma told me, or when I told grandma about this experience that I had, she was like, "That was an angel," and I was like, that's the feeling that I got too. And then like once you and me started talking more about angels and stuff like that, that's what I felt like. It was an angel like that was
Yeah,
coming to be with the man as he passed away.
because I was almost thinking too, like, what if you
Aliens.
were? No, I won't bring up aliens. I swear. But like, what if you're seeing also essentially like that light at the end of the tunnel, basically?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like how people see like the light at the end of the tunnel. Like,
Mhm.
what if that? I know it sounds stupid to say this way, but like, what if that light is almost like a portal in
Right.
a
Okay.
sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you're seeing that like open, which normally humans don't see that, but for whatever reason, like you just happen to catch it like opening up, where angels and like maybe his like loved ones were coming in through that portal, whatever you want to. I'm going to call it a portal, just for lack of a better word. Were coming in to surround him and be there with him while he was preparing to pass.
Mhm.
And then he passed. You said an hour later.
Yeah, about an hour later, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just throwing out whatever is coming into my brain because
Yeah.
that's what they tell me to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I think I like I would have to agree with you, like just because like I'm not gonna lie, and this sounds really messed up, but I was disappointed that when I walked in, he was still alive, because I was like, damn, my gut feeling was off. But
Oh,
it still got
but
me
it's
up and
not.
walk. Yeah, it still got me to stand up and walk towards, like walk that way, and then have that experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like it was an interesting experience. It was I can't say that that was like the turning point for me where like I was just like accepted, just what my role was. But it did eventually like start to taper off to where like we didn't have this experience, and like I not that I didn't have experiences there, that but the death, like the patients dying with me only type
Oh
of
yeah.
thing. You know what I mean?
You lost your badge of Angel of Death after this.
No, people
Kind of.
still called me
Oh.
that, but
Well, can I ask you a question?
yeah, of course.
Have you ever been in the room or like witnessed somebody like take their last breath? You're nodding your head, so that's a yes. Our
I
listeners
literally
can.
told so
Okay.
remember the roommate that I said was with Chelita, like
Yeah.
um so this patient was also like on the verge of passing away. Well, they were literally on hospice. We were giving them medication to make them comfortable. The daughter was there, and I don't know why. Like, I guess the daughter called me in because she felt like she was gonna pass, and
Hmm.
so like I went in there and I'm sitting with the daughter, and like I'm literally just standing there next to the patient. There's nothing that I can do. Like
Can't
I'm
give
not
her
gonna, yeah,
anything. Can't
no,
resuscitate her. Like there's
no,
nothing. Yeah.
because she's literally a, like, that's it. Like they're just,
Yeah.
this is the next
It's their
step.
time. It's their
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
And so she's breathing, and you just see this person take their last breath and exhale.
And there's no
And
other
then
breath.
I told her daughter, I was like, that was it. That was her last breath. And then like I just remember, I don't think she like broke down crying in that moment, but she was just like, thank you, thank you for being here with me, this and that. And um you know we gave each other a hug, and I told her that I would let her be there with her loved one, and I walked out of the room and let her be there with her loved one, and that was it. But yeah, that was the first time that, and the only time that I actually experienced somebody taking their last breath, and just like that was it.
Do they? I don't like. I have 1,000 questions, and I'm just like trying to like filter it and then like ask the best question. But and the only reason like I'm not, guys, just you know just so you know, like I'm not trying to be like morbid or anything. The only reason that I'm asking is because the only experience that I kind of have with that, like taking the last breath, is with two of like my beloved fucking like beloved pets, like my fucking children in my eyes, that I've had to let go. And I have like been in the room with them when they take their last breaths, and like for me it was like a super profound moment. So I asked that question in like a, I can only imagine a human life. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like what that could be like. Like I mean, you were with like, I'm super happy that her daughter was able to be there for that, if
Hmm.
that makes sense, you know, and I'm glad that you were there for her daughter as well, that she didn't have to handle that alone.
Hmm.
But I mean, I know like there's some people that are like, oh, like I saw like this happen, or I felt a shift in the room, or I saw or felt or heard or whatever experience they may have had. So like I was wondering, like did you feel anything, or was it just like a
It was just kind of like I don't know. I don't want to like be like those people that on Facebook that are just like, oh yeah, like it was something super profound. No.
But I mean, I'm not gonna judge you. Like again, I literally just said that for me, like my like feeling my kid, my fur babies like pass on, like that was knowing that that was their last breath, and then there was no breath after that. Like that realization of like that's it, like this person's gone, like there's that disconnect, like that it's done. That was a profound moment for me.
Hmm.
Other people may have like on another level profound, but for me that was profound.
I think that also has to do with the fact that that was
My
your
baby.
baby. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And for me, this lady
Was a patient.
was a patient. And
Yeah.
again, that sounds really fucked up, but
No.
I learned the very, very hard way that I have to be caring, be there for these people, but at the same time keep my distance.
1,000%. You could not do your job if you were attached to these patients. I personally couldn't do what you do, brother. Like, so props not only to you, but to nurses out there, like, and doctors and stuff like that. Like losing your patients like that and stuff like that. I couldn't. I would break.
Mhm.
I would not. I would be a shell of a human that I am if I had. So you guys are strong as fuck.
and and the only reason I say that is because I did, like, there was this one patient that I got too close to, and when he passed away, it was not a pretty death as far as like his mental status when he did pass, and it was very hard for me when he did pass, and after that I was like, I'm never doing this again. Like, I'm never going to be that close to a patient again.
Yeah.
So and unfortunately, this patient that I'm talking about wasn't, again, they weren't somebody who was very communicative. Like, they didn't talk, they didn't, so it was hard to have that kind of connection with them anyway.
Yeah.
um but it was, I guess the only thing that I can say was like you could feel like the peace, like
Mm.
just was, you could feel the life leave them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But for me as the nurse, like if that would have been like if I would have been there with grandma, I can guarantee you that my reaction would not have been the same.
Yeah.
Like I would have been bawling, and it would have been a very, very, very different experience. You know what I mean? As opposed to like and honestly, I'm surprised that the daughter took it as well as she did. But I also feel like it was because this patient was already going downhill, was
She
already kind
expected
of,
it.
yeah, it wasn't unexpected,
Yeah.
unlike our situation. But
Yeah.
she was expecting it, and then like I said, she called me in because I guess she felt something was gonna
Yeah.
happen, and so I just stayed with her until she took uh I just stayed there with the daughter until the patient took their last breath. And yeah, that was like, it just, they had this moment, and you just see them like just go, like leave, they're not there anymore, you know and so yeah, I mean, that's not like, I can't really say that's a paranormal experience, but that is one of the memories of working there at the nursing home that really stuck with me, or has really stuck with me. Oh, okay, yeah, I got a really good one.
Okay.
There's two really good ones. But it's just sometimes these things, it's not like a super like huge thing. Sometimes it's just like, you hear something in a room, or I'm getting chills just thinking about, like, another one just popped into my head that um
That's why we always ask our guests to write down their stories so that
yeah, yeah, but it's because these three experiences all happened in the same hall where that man passed away. This is,
Mhm.
granted, this is after this has already been remodeled. um but
Question
so yes.
before you go. Can you hear the squeak of the chair when I move?
I don't
Just
really
now?
notice it, but I just started to hear it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll try not to move. But I heard it through my headphones, so I'm like, fuck, has it been doing it this whole time?
Yeah, I just
But
noticed
I'll
it right now, right before you asked me. So yeah, this one predates me.
predates you?
Yeah, like, so this story that I'm about to tell happened before I was there, but it kind of leads up into two of the experiences that I ended up having.
Okay.
So the story about this room, there was this lady that lived in this room, uh and she had a folding chair. And I might have told this already before as well, but she had a folding chair, those metal folding chairs in her room, right? And it was always folded up and put against the wall. This lady couldn't get out of bed by herself. She needed assistance. Um, so sometimes they would find the folding chair unfolded and next to her bed. And the nurses or the CNAs would come in, and they would tell her, like, why is the chair there? And, that she can't be getting up on her own. And she goes, I didn't put it there. And then they were like, so who put it there? And she was like, oh, the little girl that came to talk to me.
No, thank you.
So she's like,
Oh my god.
the little girl that came to talk to me. And
Oh God. Okay, keep
yeah,
going.
so then they're like, "What little girl?" And they're like, "Oh, this little girl. She came. She comes in and she talks to me and stuff like that." And then they were like, "Okay." So then they would put the chair away. They would put it back up, and then they would come back later, and the folding chair would be out next to the bed again. And so that's like that was like a running thing. Like,
Mm,
um,
no.
there's a little girl like haunting that hallway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then one day, so this lady's this again, this was way before my time, so this lady doesn't live there anymore in that room.
Like she passed away, or she's just not there.
She probably passed away. Like I said, this
Okay.
is like way, way, way
Yeah.
before me, so I have no
Okay.
idea. I just remember the story because they told me about it. So
Okay.
then, where so so it's that
Mm.
same room, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a balloon in the room, and I have to go down that hall because I need to get like the milk for the patients that have G tube feedings and stuff like
Oh,
that, right?
I hate this story. Go.
No, that's not this story. This is
It's a different story.
yeah.
Oh God. Okay, go.
So we like I remember seeing a balloon in that room where this supposedly this little girl used to go visit this lady, right? There's a balloon. And
Okay.
these doorways are like pretty much any doorway where like it's the doorway and then there's like about a foot of ceiling, right?
Yeah.
Um so the
If somebody was
balloons,
8 foot tall, they would have to go underneath the door in order to
yeah,
be able to. Yeah. Okay.
maybe even 7 foot.
Well.
Um, but so there's a balloon in this room, right? And the balloon has helium, and it has enough helium that it's touching the ceiling,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So me and the nurse that is working down that hall, we're sitting in the nurses station again. Like Michelle said, the nurses station is this round thing in the middle of the building, and you can see down all the halls from this nurses station. So I turn around down that specific hall, and I just see the balloon in the middle of like in the hallway, just kind of like floating, bobbing up and down, touching the ceiling. Bob and nobody was in the hall. The CNAs were on break, and you just see the balloon like doing like an up, just up and down, like bobbing on the ceiling, going back and forth in the hallway,
Like a
like
little 6 foot ghost girl was walking down the fucking hall holding this balloon and just
yeah,
dragging it across the ceiling. Great, great,
basically.
great. Let's go.
So
Keep
then,
going.
so then I see this balloon, and I jokingly said to my coworker, I was like, "Hey, bro, are you seeing this?" And I told him, look over down the hall, and then he just turns around and he sees a balloon.
How you can say this jokingly is beyond me, but continue.
So I said it jokingly. I was like, look, check it out, because I think like you're trying to process what the fuck is going on, but you're also trying to like not think that this is a little girl fucking dragging a balloon in a hallway that obviously isn't there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I tell him, I was like, hey dude, look, check it out, the little girl's playing with a balloon. And then he
No.
turns around and he laughs and he goes, oh yeah. And then so we both go back to doing our job, doing our work. Turn back around a few minutes later, CNAs are barely punching back in, so they're not even down the hallway yet. Balloon's not in the hallway anymore. Like it's literally. So I was like, okay, it must have gone into another room. I was like,
Magically.
yeah, and I was like, let me see. I go back down the fucking hall. The
Braver than I
balloon,
am.
the balloon is in the room that it was originally in.
Nope.
I go back and I was like, dude, did you move the balloon? And he was like, no, dude, I was with you this entire time. And I said, and what about the CNAs? Did a CNA go down the hall? And she's like, no, they're just barely punching back in. And I was like, so how the fuck did the balloon get back into the same room? Like we saw it coming down uh the hallway. We saw it not close to that room anymore. And now it's back. It's back in the um it's back in the same room. Like it's like I get it. You could say, "Oh, it's a draft, like a fan." But how do you explain it going down the hall? Like it didn't get all the way down. Like it was like it did come down a way. But how do you like again? And if I would have just seen that, and when the CNAs went back, if that fucking balloon would have still been in the middle of the hallway, I would have been like, oh, okay, just got blown out of the room. Mind you, these rooms don't have central heating or central AC. They all have those window
Yeah,
units.
I remember that.
So, like, again, you could say, oh, it was like pointed up and the air current carried it out of the room and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But how does it go back to the exact same room?
Yeah.
You
No,
know? So that was okay. So that was one thing that happened in that room.
I
And
hate that
then
story because it has
had
to do
had
with the
I
little.
yeah.
You've told me that because it has to do with the little kid ghost, so that's burned into
Yeah.
my brain,
Yeah.
and so I remember this story. Yeah,
But the
no.
balloons part specifically I've told you also? I
Yeah,
don't
because
remember.
because like for me, the thing that like tripped me out the most, because I mean, it's like you said, like the balloon just kind of like going down the hall, like sure you can blow that off as whatever, but the fact that it has to go like down and underneath like the door frame, and then it like hits the ceiling
Mm-hmm.
again, like it has to clear like a foot and a half of wall in order to go underneath that door frame, and it's like what kind of fucking gust of wind AC do you guys have in there that it's going to blow it underneath the door frame
Yeah.
to, you know what I mean, not to leave that room, go down the hall even if it was 5 fucking feet, and then come back the same direction and go down and up, that door frame
Mm-hmm.
again, like that's not natural.
So
I don't
again,
know.
like I can explain, like I can kind of explain, like okay, say the vents of the AC are pointed up towards the ceiling, right? The warmer rises, cooler falls. So if the AC is pointing and blasting the air up, I can see how like it would hit, and then like maybe like the cold air pushes the balloon down underneath the that part of the door. But again, bobbing down like in a zigzag kind of motion down the hallway and then going back into the room, like that I can't explain because how, dude? Like how? So the other thing that happened in the same room is I don't know if and we ended up taking a picture of the room like when it was dark and the patients were asleep, but I don't remember if it was because somebody one of the patients kept saying that somebody was visiting them or they were
Oh.
seeing somebody or something like that. But me and my coworker were like, let's just take a picture, dude. Let's take a picture in the room, see what we see. I was like, what's the worst that can happen? So we take a picture and in the picture and I don't have this picture anymore. It was on like one of my old iPhones. So
No, I don't believe you then. I'm just
right.
kidding.
But it was on this little like these little drawers that they had where they could put their TV, they could put their clothes in those little drawers. They had a TV on it, but in the picture you can see like you can make out a hand, like a
Nope.
faint like white like misty disembodied type hand, uh like if somebody was leaning like sitting on the chest like on this little drawer thing and just had their hand leaning like the fingers kind of curled over the drawer thing. And you could see it in the picture, and we even showed it to the family members, and the family members were like, holy shit, like, you know it was crazy. And it
Wow.
was in that same room with that where that little girl and the whole balloon thing happened. So
Yeah.
there's something definitely in that room.
Hmm. Well, it's so weird that it's a little girl considering everybody in that building, like patient wise,
Right.
is older.
Hmm. Unless it's something else.
Unless it's Lilith.
Mm. That was the
Lilith.
name of the other woman that God created for Adam and Eve.
Yes, is it?
Hmm.
I didn't know that.
I think she's the one. I don't know if she becomes a serpent or has something to do with the serpent, but she basically like I think she wants to be like equal to man or equal to Adam or something like that. So God's like, no, because I think he didn't make Lilith of Adam. Like he made Adam and he made Lilith, and I could be completely wrong, but I think this is how it goes. And so she like I guess considered herself like an equal to Adam, and God was like, no,
She was a feminist.
yeah, basically. And God was like, no, 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 no. And so like he kind of like, I guess, shunned her. And then
Mm.
he was like, the only way this is going to work is if I take a rib from you and I create woman from you.
Oh, you
If I'm
pretty
not
much got
mistaken,
it.
I could
No,
be
I think
wrong.
I googled it,
Hmm.
and Google says Lilith is a demonic figure in Judaic mythology, supposedly the primordial she demon, and alternately first wife of Adam. She is
Hmm.
first mentioned in biblical Hebrew in Isaiah 34:14 and later in late. Anyway, it keeps going. So I'm Team Lilith. I'm just throwing that out
Yeah.
there.
So that's where
Mm,
that comes from. But I don't know what this little girl, who this little girl is.
yeah, I know.
I'm hoping it's a who and not a what.
I'm going above and beyond. I'm like I'm just like really throwing out theories there, but I don't actually. It's
Yeah, but it always did seem weird to me too that there was a little girl there, and I don't know the history of what the what it was before it was a nursing home, so I couldn't really say, but I guess it'd be interesting to try and find out if anybody knows the history.
they don't even know what freaking nursing home you're talking about.
True.
Why don't
Eh,
you just do the homework and then come tell us?
yeah, I guess I could
Oh
do
my
that.
god.
No, and so yeah, so those are like kind of like the little three experience, or like the three kind of like ones tied to that room. And then the other
Mm,
one that happened down that hall was the other one that you started freaking out about when I mentioned the milk. Um, do you want me to tell that
forgot.
one?
I guess I already forgot. You
Oh,
have five. You
with
have
the
5 minutes. I'm
okay.
just kidding.
So what happened with this one was we've mentioned before that in the nursing home people tend to die in threes, right?
Mm.
If
Just
one
in
person,
general, though, no.
my guess, if
But in the nursing
yeah,
home.
in the nursing home or like in the medical field, I guess, like if somebody passes away, there's usually like they go in threes, and sometimes it can be within like, I remember one time we literally had two patients code on us the same night. Like we literally were working on one patient and the ambulance was there, and they called us into another room because that other person was
Jesus.
coding, so we had to go work on them, and then we had to call another ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
um so technically, like typically people would go in three. Sometimes it would, like I said, it could happen like back to back. It could happen a few days apart. It could even happen within a month of each other. Like, they all go within that same month. Um, and sometimes you would have like three go and then another cycle starts like almost immediately. So like four
Jesus.
go, but then two more go. So then like six ended up passing away within like 2 month period.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or even a month and a half. But so there was this nurse who was a coworker. She's obviously a coworker, and she always like had it, or like this one lady had it in for her. Like she did not like her for whatever reason. She always thought that uh, her husband and this nurse had something going on, but
Uh-huh.
this nurse was happily married. So like it was just something that this lady had in her
Made up in her
head.
brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the man ended up passing away, and once like the man passed away, uh like this lady's kind of like idea of this nurse being with the husband was like almost intensified, I feel like. um and it all makes me wonder now, like maybe the husband would like stick by the nurse or something, and this lady was, not happy about it or something. I don't know.
Hmm.
Like once he passed away,
Yeah.
because the lady would say that her husband would go and have conversation, like they would have conversations, and the man had already passed away. He had actually passed away in the nursing home.
Hmm.
um so she would tell the nurse that, oh, her husband was just there and he was talking to her and stuff like that. And I remember this one day, um somebody had already passed, I think, and um I was getting the milk out of that closet down that hall, and I was, and I could hear her talking to the lady. And so when she comes out of the room, I'm just like, I stand on the other side of the doorway and I was like, hey. And she's like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "So what was she telling you now?" And she's like, "She was telling me that her husband's here, that he's working, and this and that." And I was like, "He's working?" And she's like, "Yeah." She said that he's around in the halls, that he's working. And I was like, "Well, that's kind of weird." But I was like, "But she wasn't mad at you?" And she's like, "No," because she said like he was here, um, in the air and like around here. I was like, oh. So we're talking, right? And then like out of the corner of my eye, I just see like this shadow like start to walk forward, like manifest and walk forward out of this doorway that was like across the hall from that lady's room. And again, the two men that were that in that room, neither one of them could,
Walk.
walk or get up on their own. So it's not like it was one of the patients. And then, so I see this like shadow thing coming out of that room. And like, I guess I turned around, freaked out, because I see it out of the corner of my eye. So I start turning around, and I must have had like a terrified look on my face, because the next thing I know is like, I start turning towards the doorway because I'm seeing this thing, and my coworker is jumping towards me. And I was like, and so like, I freak out and I turn back towards her. I was like, "What's going on?" And she goes, "I don't know." She was like, "I just saw that you had a very terrified look on your face and I got scared." I was like, "But did you see what I saw?" And she was like, "No, but I saw your face and that was enough for me to freak out." And
Oh my god.
I was like, "All right, I'm done here." So then we like literally both walked back to the nurse station, and uh, I felt like it was the lady's husband.
Yeah, making his
Um,
rounds, doing his work.
yeah, yeah, because and two more people ended up passing away like within the next week, I think, or the
Ugh,
next couple of weeks. So
yeah,
I don't know if for some reason he was crossing people over, or
just playing the angel of death.
yeah. But it was weird that she said that, and then like literally I see this thing like that, and like I am getting
Yeah,
chills right now just thinking about it. But
yeah.
um yeah, so like I mean that's why like I don't know, I've always felt like people like have told me their stories and they've been touched, they've heard things and stuff like that, but not a lot of people have ever told me that they've seen things, and I've seen some, some things.
Could it have anything to do with like what I tell you like literally every fucking month, that you have abilities but you don't want to accept them or actually try and like grow them, and you're just like, yeah, whatever.
It's a
Maybe.
thing,
I don't know.
maybe.
Bro, I'm so jealous. Like I wish. Like it
Dude,
takes me so much more to like get
uh
to that.
I think you have a mental, like I think you block your, I think you're way more I think you have way more ability than than you think. I think you know how we always talk about like, oh, parents like they subdue those like
Yeah,
abilities in children. I think you do that to yourself.
probably. I
Like
have been told this before.
I feel like you just kind of like, you're able to hear and see more, or like experience more things than you actually let on. And I mean, I could probably be throwing these same comments back at myself.
Yeah,
It's just,
you're projecting, bro.
yeah. But yeah.
I well, it's like I've said before though. Like I okay, yeah, maybe we both do. I think maybe mine are a little bit different than yours. I personally just feel that it comes a lot easier for you because it comes without you even wanting it to. Whereas I sometimes feel like I have to work for it in order to get it. Whereas like you
Mhm.
just have the experiences. But I also feel like if I had the experiences as just like common or as loosely as you do, that I would, or I guess I probably have shut myself off to it.
Mhm.
So that's why I have to work twice as hard to to have these things happen, or like to experience or to talk to and to communicate. And I just feel like, especially recently now, I'm just like nothing, literally nothing has happened. Like I don't feel anything, I don't hear anything, I don't see anything, but I'm too don't give a shit right now, if that makes sense. That I'm like,
Mhm.
everything is blocked out. Like I will say, when Carlos left for like a weekend, I was like, all the dogs are sleeping in the bed. I don't give a shit. And then I kept
Yeah,
hearing noises outside the door, and I couldn't blame it on the dogs. And I
because
was
they were in
like,
their
fuck
kennels.
it. No, they were in the room in the bed with me.
Oh,
Normally, if they're in the kennels, I can just blame whatever sounds I hear on them. Because normally it is just them shifting around their kennels. Like you can hear like the little crate, like whatever.
mhm.
But when he left, I was like, no, they're all sleeping in the bed with me because if there's an intruder, they have to get through 3 dogs and I can reach for my gun in time and blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever. They'll let me know someone's in here.
Yeah.
So they were all in the bed and like I kept hearing noises like outside, like the door, like in the living room, like in the bathroom, like shit like that. And I'm like, fuck my life. And I remember calling Carlos and I was like, I hear something. He's like, well, go outside and turn on all the lights. I'm like, you don't understand. This is not a human. Turning on the lights isn't gonna help.
And then he was like, I'm hanging up now.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. He's like, if you're not gonna turn on the lights, then I don't know what you want me to do. I'm like, okay, bye.
Oh, jeez.
But whatever.
But yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I haven't really like, and she even told me, she's like, the moment that stuff starts happening in this house, your podcast is over.
No, you can tell her it's all happening to me with the fucking lights flickering and shit. Like,
No, but that's why I'm also extra like, with the
you do
whole
a
Palo
great job.
Santo
Yeah, you
and
do a
and
great
and
job.
everything,
Yeah.
just to get those good vibes, good energy, and just block out any negative stuff. Like I said, I mean, there's other experiences not only in this nursing home. I've actually had other experiences in yeah, where I'm at right now, in the house, in the previous house, in the previous house.
But we can't give them all out.
Yeah, so those will probably have to be for another day. But so yeah, guys, those were a couple of my. I know we went off on some tangents there, but these
They
were
were all like
yeah,
encompassing of what we were talking about, though.
yeah. So these are only a couple of my experiences. Next time I'm gonna write some down, but no, some of these other ones didn't take place in the nursing home. They did take place. So now I don't do geriatric. I don't work in a nursing home anymore. I do pediatric nursing. So now I work in the patient's home. It's not just the fact that this other place has had a lot of death. Like I've had, well, I mean, I can't say that these other places haven't had death in them, right? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's less likely, you know what I mean? And I've still had experiences. So, but yeah, so I'm happy to share this with you guys. Like, I hope this also encourages you guys to be like, yeah, I want to share my stories too. I want other people to hear my stuff, or you relate to some of the stories that I've told, and you're like, you know what, like, you know, I want to share, because I know that happens to me sometimes too. Like where I hear a podcast and I'm like, man, I want to, you know, jump in on that conversation too. So
Jump in on that conversation. I love when you guys send comments and messages. Like I love being able to interact with you guys. If I can remember to respond, I'm sorry, but reach out, please. I love it. I want to create this community of people who are believers like we are, and let's keep it going, guys.
yeah, so if you guys do want to share your stuff with us, you can go to our website. It's webelievedyou.com. You can find all our social medias on there. If you want to see this crazy video that Michelle just posted of an experience we had last week, it's on our Instagram and our Facebook. If you want to listen to the podcast, there's also a little tab there where you can click listen, and we have the episode on there, and we have all the medias that you can listen to us on. You can go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. And if you want to share your stories with us, we have a contact us page where you can put your name, say, hey, I want to be interviewed, or you can share your story on there and we'll get that and we can share it on here, because we really want to hear from you guys, because we believe.
Do you?